All right, all you Facebook Live people, come on over to Zoom. Now it works. We'd love to have you over here. Okay, let me pray for us because we obviously need it now. I'm flustered. I have
Yes,
no
we need divine intervention.
Holy Father, we thank you for another great day we can come together. I thank you for humor and fun and grace and patience and humbling. And we ask that you help us to see Jesus in the text today as we look at the beast, which is not about Jesus, but it does actually show us something beautiful about him. So help us to see that and to know what this text is calling us to. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, let's summarize where we're at. We're in chapter 13. We've already halfway through chapter 13. 2 weeks ago, we finished chapter 11, and many weeks ago, we finished chapter 12. We went in this weird little order that you only know if you were here for Christmas, if you were in the Christmas time, because we thought chapter 12 would be a fun Christmas story to tell. So we kind of missed it, but I tried to summarize it very quickly just by reminding you that there's this dragon, right? In chapter 12, John says he sees this huge red dragon and a woman who is clothed with the sun. All that is right there in the first verse of that. And she's with child, and the dragon tries to kill the child, and God takes the child up, right? Verse 5, he brings him home. So the dragon's angry, so the dragon goes after what the child has left behind. That is the church, the people of God, those followers of the Lamb, and he is going to go after them through these two beasts. So I need you to imagine this vision. I'm sure you had a bad dream maybe in the last week. Maybe it's been since you were children. You guys get bad dreams, nightmares, like you wake up in a sweat, or like this is an interesting dream if it's a dream. Okay, it's a vision. He says he sees something. Remember, that's a prophetic way of saying that he's a seer, he's a prophet. So he's seeing something here. And this is of a dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, who swipes away a third of the stars with him. And then he gets ready to speak or to call forth these 2 beasts, one out of the sea, and now today, one off from the earth. And the beast from the earth is going to seek to call us to worship the image of the beast that came out of the sea. So there's going to be some image that's going to be created for him, and then we're going to worship this image, and also by proxy the dragon. So you see, we got dragon, and then we got a beast, and then we got another beast, and the beast is drawing attention to this beast and also to this dragon. Okay, so you got the big picture. We haven't really looked at the second beast, but that's the goal. That's what he's going to do. Let's see if I can. Where's my cue? Yeah, because it's not coming out of that. That's why. That's why. I figured out why. I don't know how to fix this, but it's not coming out of my other camera on here, which I'm supposed to be using. So I have to look down here for you to see what I'm looking at. Then, every time I'm like this, I'm not looking at you. Oh, that's going to be a pain. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're going to have to suffer because I can only see you guys up here. So I'll just pretend I'm looking at you. All right, let's read. Who wants to read? Let's read the whole thing in one fell swoop. It's only a few verses. This is a really short lesson. Good time for discussion after. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yep. Appreciate that, Mary. Who wants to read this?
Lisa does.
I do, but I don't want you to tell me it has to be my most dramatic reading of all times.
All right, Laura, you can't read because I don't understand what you're saying. You sound like a robot. It has nothing to do with your text, if that's what you're talking about. But could everybody else understand, or was it just me?
No.
Can you hear me?
Read now.
We can hear Fran.
I
I can
Fran.
hear
Can you hear me?
All right.
What you want me to
Fran's got
read? What do you want me to read?
Verse 11 to the end of the chapter. Only a few verses
Which chapter?
of chapter 13.
Then I saw another beast that rose out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound has been healed. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in the sight of all. And by the signs that it is allowed to perform on behalf of the beast, it deceives the inhabitants of the earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that has been wounded by the sword and yet live. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast could even speak and cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Also, it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell who does not have the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let anyone with understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of the person. Its number is 666.
Excellent. All right, good. Strong reading. All right, let's just do this. Let's just traditional Bible study. We're all sitting around. We're pulling our ignorance, right? We're just grabbing hold of ideas that we have. Let's look at just these first 2 verses. All right, somebody's got an echo. It's coming through theirs and it's repeating back on this. I think it might be Lori. I think, there you go. There you go. That works out great. You're fixed. Thank you. So I saw another beast. It rises out of the earth. So we had one out of the sea. We got this one out of the earth. It's horns like a lamb. Interesting. Like a lamb. That's going to be relevant, I think. And it speaks like a dragon. Okay, I mean, come on. You can see this imagery if you've never done symbolism in your whole life, right? It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence and makes the earth and the inhabitants worship the first beast whose mortal wound has been healed. We've already talked about the wound being healed, right? But here's this beast, the second beast. So let's go back and remember the images of beasts in the Old Testament. What do we know about beasts back there? Any thoughts? Anything that you know about beasts might be helpful. It might not be, but who cares? Throw it out there.
Man has authority, dominion over them.
Okay, that's right. So man's
They're
over
scary.
dominion, Genesis.
They're scary.
They're scary. Yeah.
They're chaos. They're
Some of them
chaos
are.
monsters.
Yes. Yes. Some of the beasts.
They're an amalgam.
An amalgam. Keep going.
They're an amalgam of multiple animals.
Right. Right. So some of these beasts take on a single form and then they look like lots of beasts. So we got the word beast, which is just animals, right? And then we've got, mashups. And then we've got all these other beasts, right? These weird beasts that have they're chaos monsters of some kind. And then some of them become chaos monsters and they combine all together into this weird thing. And we've seen in the Old Testament 2 main beasts that are mentioned. The book of Job mentions 2 beasts. Which ones are these called? One comes out of the sea and one on the land.
Leviathan, one of them.
Leviathan? And? Behemoth or Behemoth, right? Behemoth. So you got these 2 beasts, both mentioned in the book of Job, one from the sea, one from the land, usually is how they're understood. It's a sea creature and a land creature. And they represent these forces of chaos. Remember, Daniel's going to take this idea of beasts and he's going to make mashups or amalgams, as Lori said and Mary said, right? It's going to bring them together. They're going to have faces that are different. They're going to have wings. It's like this going to be this weird thing. This one here has 2 horns like a lamb, which tells us what? Why are we, okay, yeah. Why do we have these 2 horns?
It's a boy.
Okay, it's a boy, what? It's a boy lamb, right? It's a ram. Yeah, or so it looks at least. Okay, now who do we know is the lamb?
Jesus.
Jesus is the lamb. So this is where we start getting into this idea. Okay, wait a second. he's copying him.
Yeah,
He
He's
looks
an
like a
imitation.
lamb.
he's an
An
imitation.
imitation.
Yeah,
Yes.
A
All right.
false prophet.
A
Very
false
much so.
prophet, exactly.
Yeah,
Because
I
the
have,
very next, good.
no, it reminded me of Matthew 7:15. It says, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inside they're ravenous wolves." Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah. So you and Lori come together to show that Matthew, like this is what, right? It's that sheep in that wolf in sheep's clothing. This is where we get this idea. Okay. Do you guys remember what's that book? C.S. Lewis's Last Battle. I think it's Last Battle, where the monkey and the donkey. Anybody have a clue what I'm talking about right now?
monkey.
Chronicles
in the
of Narnia,
book.
yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
Pilgrim's Regress?
No, it's the Last Battle
Or
from
Last Battle.
Chron-
C.S.
Chronicles of
Lewis.
Narnia.
And the monkey, and the monkey and the donkey are the main conversation points around this whole story, right? And it's a false prophet. You need to read it. It's fantastic. Basically, he dresses up so that he looks like the image of what he's trying to show, what he's trying to be. The donkey doesn't want to do it, but he keeps doing it. It's this fantastic story. So you need to read that, and you'll get this idea of the false prophet. Or read Matthew. False prophet's here. He's a sheep in a wolf in sheep's clothing. And we know that because, right, we hear a lamb, gentle, harmless, or so we think, although horns, power. But it's the voice of what? What's the sheep's voice sound like?
Oh, Jesus.
In this passage, though, here, you're
Dragon.
right. Always
Like-
here.
Yeah,
Dragon.
it's the dragon.
Dragon.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
beast. Yeah.
So, and the dragon is supposed to remind us of what? Let's keep our mythical theology traveling here. What's the dragon supposed to do?
Woo us into believing that he is.
Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah. So he's trying to get the attention. Who is this dragon of old that we're reading about in Revelation?
He's trying to get us to believe the other guy is the first beast is the savior, that he is
Okay.
Jesus.
All right, fair enough. But who is this beast? I mean, who is this dragon? Who is he actually?
Satan.
Satan.
Yeah.
All right, so let's make sure we followed that trend all the way from Genesis, right? Because we've got a garden scene, and we're going to end up with a city/garden scene at the end too. So I want you to see the very first garden scene. We have a serpent/dragon, right? That comes into the garden. This is a chaos monster that is meant to deceive the world, or Adam, mankind. So he goes in there and he says, God might not be telling you the whole truth here.
Right.
So already he's setting us up to not listen to God. In fact, that Satan theme, we talked about that just last week. I want to keep that ever present in your head. That Satan theme is somebody who tries to get you to not listen to God,
The
right?
great
To not
deceiver.
follow the path that God's given for you, right? So the deceiver. So it's the same. Remember, Jesus goes into the desert. He's tempted by the tempter, by the serpent, is the idea here. By the devil is what it's called. And the job of the serpent or the demons or the devil or Satan is always to say, I think maybe this is a better way of doing things. Right? And that serpent is right there with you most days, isn't he? Right? Where somebody comes up and tells you, and it's not Satan, it might even be your wife or your husband, and they don't even mean to be doing it. But they suggest some other way of doing it other than the humble sacrificial way that God has designed for us. In which case they become the serpent. Not literally, this is all symbolism, right? Satan hasn't possessed them. They become evil. They're just acting like Satan. They're doing the job, or they're taking on this serpent, the serpent-esque quality. Okay, which is why Jesus, every time with Satan, with the devil, says, get thee behind, right? Go, no, the word says this. No, the word says this. No, I'm going to do it this way. And then when Peter comes to him and says, we can make you king a better way. Like that, you're not going to die. He says, get thee behind me, Satan. Right? Don't listen to those false voices. Book of Revelation is all about following the Lamb and not falling prey to compromise in the world. And the world every day is going to say, hey, here's where you should find your security, your checkbook. As long as you've got enough to retire, you'll be fine. Right? Which is why very few people can get into the kingdom of heaven if they're wealthy. Right? Jesus even says this. I mean, he goes further than that and says nobody can, but right? Rich have it harder because they're fine. In fact, in our sermon this last week, for some of you, we talked about where our foundations are. And we think it's in all these different places. Right? All right, so we got, yeah, that muting again. I'm not sure what's wrong with hers, but something's happening. Sorry, Lori. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, so the serpent of old. So the beast has as its purpose to gain worshipers for the other beast. That's the goal. That's what it says here, right? And makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. And who did we say? What did we say this beast is? What is this? What was the beast last week?
He's
Do you
Satan.
remember?
He's Satan.
Well, the who's the dragon?
Yeah, he was a dragon. Yeah,
So there's three different ones, right?
he's an
The dragon is
anti-god.
Satan.
He's an anti-god.
He's an anti-god. That's true.
Right.
But what did we say was his? What's his role? Who is the first beast?
Well, he's from the
Because we
sea.
found
He's
the first-
chaos. He's from the abyss. I mean,
All right, all that's true.
Empire.
Empire.
oh, empire. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that? That's what we were talking about. It's hard for me always to get my question out. So you're like,
Yeah.
are you talking about this, Jace? Are you talking about this? I don't know where you want us to go. We all know the answer, but we don't know what you're trying to get us to say. Yeah. Empire is what I was trying to get you to say. Thanks, Brad. Right? So this is
Thank you,
the
Brad.
political powers. And so now we have this other beast coming in who is going to try to get us to worship the political powers.
Right.
So who is this? What do we think?
Church.
Religious power.
Yeah, the church, religious power. Yep. So they want you to. They're coming in the church. All your nice archbishops and elders and stuff like that. They're coming in. They're saying, you know what? You really should trust the empire. It's pretty good. In fact, the king or the president or the emperor or whatever. They're actually worthy of being worshipped. They've really made this everything we need to be. They're divine.
Jeet sounds familiar.
Yes. And we'll talk about that. We'll get to the application. Hold on to that thought, right? Because it does. I mean, if this book doesn't speak to us as part of the empire, who does it speak to? Like, we are in danger of this every day. Not just us, by the way, everybody. But we're going to focus on us, of course. So John thinks emperor worship is the reason for all the persecution, and the two beasts together are the Roman state and the priesthood that is offering up the Roman state. Okay, that's really what's happening here. Most scholars, I mean, this is a consensus view. It's not like every single person in the world, but you're not going to find a lot of commentaries that are going to disagree with that idea. That's what these two beasts represent. So we have this evil trinity, right? This dragon, beast, and beast, or dragon, beast, beast, all pushing us to the other one. And when we get later on in chapter 16, chapter 19, and 21, we're going to find out about this beast, and they're going to name the beast something else. They're going to call him the false prophet, which just fits perfectly with the entire Old Testament, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this has been the problem that God has been sending prophets to the entire time. And what is John, if not a prophet, coming to the church and saying, you guys are doing your false deed, false things, your false beliefs, your false practices, cultic rituals. You're underneath the temple, like in Ezekiel, worshiping bats and snakes and things, right? So remember the basement of the temple in Ezekiel, as if anybody reads Ezekiel, I know, but trust me, that's what's happening in Ezekiel. Okay? And that's the constant reminder, is that they're worshiping, or they're syncretized, right, into this. They're compromising with the world. And they have to, remember? I mean, what's going to happen if they don't? They're going to die, right? Either they're going to actually be killed, or they're just not going to be able to have a job. because everyone's going to be checking to make sure, hey, you worship the emperor, right? Oh yeah, here's my emperor card. Or here's a picture on my forehead. Oh, we're going to get to that one. Here it is on my wrist. Like, okay, you're in. Good. Well, if you got nothing to show, how are you going to sell in the marketplace? How is anybody going to hire you? Verse 13. Well, you know what? I have a verse here. I say Mark 13:22. I don't remember what it is, so I turned right to it. So God is telling
Can
me.
I say
about
something
it.
to that real quick? Can I add something to that real quick? Because in Bakersfield, it's a really tight community, and it seems as if you, even if you're not like necessarily an actual Christian, you're just a nominal Christian. But if you just put like John 3:16 on your business, business card or anything here in Bakersfield, I mean, you're in. And I feel like it uses that same symbolism to promote. It's promoting a couple things. It's promoting great things in our community where we're serving the poor, we're doing the things that Jesus was doing. But it's also on the other end, it's like what you just said. It reminded me, hey, this is the ticket. It's a false prophet. It's a mask. It's the exact thing that you're saying. It's someone who looks like they're following Jesus, but really they're in it for the money, or really they're in it for fill in the blank.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, perfect. It's the opposite side of it. So yeah, they're using Jesus to get what they want in that case, but they're still false prophets. Yeah. So Mark 13:22 says, "For false Christs and false prophets will appear to perform signs and miracles to deceive the elect, if that were possible." Like, they're going to be persuasive. Okay, so this false prophet, I really want you to understand that whole Old Testament theme from Adam. Okay, Adam is a representative of Israel, to the son in Proverbs. I think I've done this before with you guys, right? The son in Proverbs is trying to decide which direction he will go, and there's the false prophet or the woman of folly. Okay, the one who's saying, "This is wisdom. Come to me over here, everyone." Right? And then there's wisdom calling to him as well. He's got these two choices, like Adam has these two choices, like Israel has these two choices. Will we stay with Yahweh and focus on him, or are we going to go off another way? We're going to follow our own way. So, all right, so that's 13:22. Let's go to verse 13. We're talking about this false propagandist, this false prophet. He says it works great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in the sight of men. Okay, so what's that supposed to remind us of? Who makes fire come down to earth in the sight of
Was
men?
that when God spoke to Moses?
Okay, when God
Fire?
speaks to us, does fire come down?
Mountain?
It does come down on the mountain. Yeah, so maybe that's a connection there. That's not what I immediately thought of, but maybe so.
Was
Isaiah,
it Sodom and Gomorrah?
Oh,
God
yeah,
made
that's true,
fire
too.
come down?
Yeah. Okay.
Pentecost?
Wow, you guys are coming up with a good one. All right, so let me
Well,
clarify the
didn't
question.
Elijah
Which one do you
something?
want, Jace?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't Elijah do something like that?
Yeah, Steve, that's what because it says it works great signs, semiones, right? These great signs, or these great, I don't know what your versions say here, but it's trying to show off God's power. So
Yeah.
I don't think the hail from Sodom and Gomorrah will work so much. Maybe it will on the mountain, but not so clearly, because Elijah is very clear, right? On Mount Carmel. Remember? It's like, okay, who is the better God? Who will you choose between?
Oh, yeah, that, okay.
Got
Yeah,
these two choices.
yeah.
And they say, well, it's Baal. Let's do Baal.
No,
And he
yeah.
says, no, it's Yahweh. And then Elijah starts teasing them, right?
Yeah.
Maybe your God's on vacation. Maybe he's sitting on the toilet. Maybe he's gone to sleep. Just all
I
this
don't
stuff. And then
remember
it's like,
sitting on the toilet.
it's a possibility that that's the interpretation there. Yeah, that he's relieving himself elsewhere. So, and it's supposed to be mocking. So whatever you can think of to make it mock as much as you can. And then he drenches the altar and all that. And then he calls on God. He says, show them. Like it's a sign. Show them who's boss here. And then just lightning comes down, or maybe it's a fire or whatever. The idea is that he's the God of fertility, and he brings lightning and rain and all those things. and then they kill the prophets of Baal. And the whole story is supposed to say, don't compromise, don't worship other gods, which is the call of the book of Revelation, right? Don't fall in with the empire and the religious elites who are telling you to go this direction. Stand strong, even though it's super easy to go with the crowd. Peer pressure. Good, Steve.
That's false gods too, isn't it? Don't worship
Yeah.
false gods.
Yep.
I mean,
But
so
that's
that's like a test. That's a 10 Commandments kind of thing.
sure. Yeah. But what Revelation is trying to say is that's exactly what you're doing when you're compromising with the world.
Yeah.
You're worshiping false gods. Whenever you're
Yeah.
relying on the things of earth
Yeah.
to satisfy you, then you are worshiping false gods.
Yeah. That's
So whether that's the emperor or the president or the flag or whatever your thing is, your 401k, right? Wherever you find your security, that's the problem. So I think, I'm pretty sure it's trying to mention Elijah here. Yeah, we
But-
can skip some of those verses.
But
ahead.
Baal couldn't bring down fire. But
Yeah.
in this text, it's saying
Good point.
even the false prophets will be able to do it. So
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Great point. So maybe it's a combination of even like the Moses story where, you know, even though it's not fire, Moses is the Pharaoh's magicians are able to do the same things.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever it is, it's advanced, right? If you've gone forward in Revelation, they can do the same things, and it'll trick even the elect, or almost, right? As if they could be. All right. So 14 and 15. And by the signs which it's allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on the earth, bidding them to make an image for the beast, which was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast. I hope you can hear what's going on here. Somebody can. So that the image of the beast should even speak, and to cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. All right.
14.
What image is made, breathed into, and then talks as a representative of someone?
man.
Man, Adam. This is the first major story that we hear about in the Bible, right? At a man set level. It's so significant that you're here, like we're trying to get you bookends. He's grabbing hold of the Genesis language and moving it here. So God creates out of the dust a man, breathes into him, and this man is called an icon in the Greek, or a tselek in the Hebrew. It's selam. Selam? Yeah, that's right. A likeness or an image of God. So throughout the Bible's time, throughout the ancient Near East, this is how they would normally do things. Remember, a king, you've heard this already, I think, depending on how long you've been here, but a king will come in and conquer. We call that conquering king a suzerain king, right? One who is owed tribute. And then the vassal king is that king who gives taxes or tribute to the suzerain king. So the suzerain sets up, when he leaves, he sets up that vassal king, or he allows that king that he's conquered to remain a vassal king. Either way, that king is an image, a tselem or a likeness of this other king. So he's supposed to represent this other king well. As soon as he starts not representing him well, that emperor, that larger king, suzerain king, is going to fly in there on his horses and chariots and destroy them and put somebody else in there that'll do it well. So sometimes they don't put a king in there. Sometimes they put a big statue in the center of the square, right? Which again is a representative, so that you remember who's in charge here. It's an image. Okay? This word is going to keep showing up. But this statue has life breathed into it. Who could speak? Now the statue can speak for some reason. And what is it that he's going to, what is he going to speak? Let's see, it's allowed to work in the presence of the beast. It deceives those who dwell on the earth, bidding them to make an image for the beast who is which wounded by the sword and yet lived. It's allowed to give breath to the image of the beast so that the image of the beast could even speak and do what?
People would be killed if they
And do-
didn't worship him.
That's
It
right.
says he
Yep.
causes all the great, wait, all the small and the great and the rich and the poor and the free men and slaves to be given a mark.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you've moved too far. You're right. 16 is
too
going
far?
to help us. But it's right there in verse 15, right? The point of all of this is so that they can worship the image of the beast,
Yeah. Honor.
Right. and you're going
Honor
to kill
them.
all the ones who don't worship the image of the
And
beast.
yeah, and they live. If they don't worship him, they don't live.
That's right. So if you're a half-hearted Christian in this kind of a world, and you're like,
You
you know
don't
what,
live.
All right, you're not going to live.
We talked about like illocution, perlocution, and like speech act theory, and
Yeah.
how like the word is this powerful thing that is authoritative. So it's saying it does say cause as many cause to worship. It has authority. It seems as if, and it's also saying it causes them to be. It seems like the word is correlating with the mark. Is that the speaking is correlating with the mark? Is that not?
Sure.
I
Absolutely.
don't know.
So the mark, remember what the mark is. We're not to the mark yet, but the mark is a protective seal, and it's an attachment to whatever deity or whatever it is, right? You're taking the mark of that group. So those who
Maybe-
take the mark, yeah, good.
Well, because when we confess with our mouth and believe in our heart, the speaking part of it is huge. With our belief, yeah. And I don't want to go back yet, but yeah, no, yes, I have a couple questions, but I don't want to go back yet. I want to
Okay.
keep going.
Write them down. So 'cause
Yes.
what Josh is hitting on, let's ignore the locution, perlocution, illocution. You don't need to know too much about speech act theory to even understand this. But even he is talking about the connection between words and the mark that you get, right? So in the Old Testament, we are told in the third commandment, let's see. Yeah, keep the Sabbath. Wait, keep the Sabbath holy? No. Don't vain. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Is that 4? I think it's 4. Nobody knows. All right, I will just pretend
Hang
it's
on.
4. You'll tell me it's wrong in a minute.
Hang on. It's in Deuteronomy. Hang on. Hang on.
And it's in Exodus. Exodus 20. Yeah. So the
Deuteronomy.
holy Sabbath is 4. So that so then
Observe
3
the
must be-
Sabbath. Yeah. By
Yeah. So
keeping
3
it
is
holy.
keeping the.
It's 4.
Wait, 3 is keeping the name, right? Okay. So that idea is bearing the name. Okay, so bearing or carrying or having that name imprinted on you in some way, right? And you're not supposed to take the Lord's name in vain. You're not supposed to
Right.
take on his identity in vain. So I know we all think that it's about saying, GD in public or something like that. Has nothing to do with it. I mean, don't do that either. It's just stupid, but that's not the point of that particular text. It's to say that you're called to represent them well. When we see this again, this is the image language. Represent the deity well. And here what we've got is this group of people that are taking the mark or representing this false prophet or this dragon well. Okay. Now the Christians are tempted. They're all doing it. The Christians are tempted to take this mark too. Verse 16. They want to take it because, I mean, why wouldn't you? This image, whatever this image is, a statue has been built, and now by trickery, sorcery, symbolism, I don't know, it's talking and saying, yes, the empire is good. And you're like, whoa, I already thought the empire was pretty good because it saves me and it gives me food and it does taxes and I get library and oh my gosh, it's amazing. And now it's like magically telling me it's true as well. I'm like, I'm totally in. So those people who are not elect, we're going to go for it. We're going to go ahead and join. Okay. And this text is saying, stop. Don't be deceived. There's only one Christ. Don't follow in the ways of this political power and religious power that is tempting you to go somewhere else. So a half-hearted Christian is going to give in, or maybe, that is a half-hearted person who says they're a Christian. They're going to give in. Don't give in. You're going to everyone's going to be forced to ask this question. And what we've done with this is we've pushed this idea off till I don't know, till whatever that great millennium is, or that tribulation is, or something like that. Like one day you're going to have to make a decision, all of you that are right here. One day that's going to happen, or your grandkids are going to have to make a decision. Will they worship the beast or not? And it's going to be really hard. And that misses the whole point of the text. The point of the text is that the people right then and there are having to make this decision. And you, my friends, 17 of you and whoever's on Facebook, right? You have to make this decision every day. Will you worship the beast or not? And every one of you will say, we will not. And then every day, you just do little compromises.
But
The beast stuff's
here
still
it says they're to be killed if they don't worship the beast.
They're going to die if they don't. I mean, that's why you're going to compromise.
Or your
Okay, I
bank
don't want-
account is killed and you can no longer conduct any transactions because your bank account is dead.
Yeah, as a for instance, that's maybe how they'll be killed. Maybe they'll be
I mean-
literally killed, but that's a good one. Yeah. In fact, selling and buying is a huge thing in Revelation, right?
Yeah. They
So
talk
by the time
about-
when we get to the next chapter, they're going to talk about them being bought and redeemed. That is, people are being sold, and God is going to purchase them because they weren't able to sell and buy because their bank account has been frozen, or their money's been stolen from them, or in other countries, their houses are being bulldozed, like literally being bulldozed, because they say, we're not going to bow to the idols. And you remember that from the Old Testament too, don't you? Again, Daniel, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I've created an image. Nebuchadnezzar creates an image. Nebuchadnezzar, yeah. And they have to bow down to it. And if they don't, what's going to happen to them? Right? And so you get this picture of these three guys standing up when everybody else is laying down on the ground. And they get thrown into the fiery furnace. You know the story. And there's one like the Son of Man who is walking around in there with them, a human, one who is truly human like them. Right? This is a call. The whole book has been a call to be truly human and not beast. Don't be subhuman. Don't follow the way of the world and worship the beast, the animals that are under man. Man has dominion. We're supposed to be living up to being true humans, right? People on the throne of Cair Paravel, Peter, Lucy, Susan, and Edmund, right? Just sticking with my Chronicles of Narnia. Yeah, you guys are with me? Chronicles of Narnia, okay. Right, do you see all those connections? I know I went really fast, but I think that's why this passage is so stinking beautiful. It's bringing in all this old stuff and it's saying, don't compromise with the world. Religious power pointing to political power, and it's political power that keeps everybody fed and happy. So now we worship the empire, the emperor, and yeah. So, okay, verse 16 and 17. We can come back to whatever you want, but let's keep going for a minute. Also, it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell. Oh, it's right here. I thought it was in the next chapter. Good grief. You've already read it. So no, I even heard you just read it and I've already pushed it off. So that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That's the name of the beast or the number of its name. Okay, so no one can carry out the normal daily routine. Rich, poor, slave, they can't do it unless they have this mark on their head or the forehead. Right? So here it is. Here's my mark, which is why you read in all those books in the past, right? That maybe it's going to be, the Visa card. It's going to be the barcode. It's going to be some barcode that's put under your skin. It's going to be a tattoo on your forehead. Okay. It might, you're supposed to picture something, okay, in the symbolism. You're supposed to picture, maybe it's a barcode. We'll just pretend. Something is there, okay? But that's not the reality. Like, there's not really something there. That's not the point. The point is that they've taken on the name of God and they're following him, or they're taking on the name of the beast. Which mark will they choose? There's marks for both sides. It's never a question of whether you're going to be a disciple or not. It's always a question of which disciple you're going to be a disciple of who? right? All of you are disciples of somebody, whether you like it or not. You've made a choice. Even if you didn't make a choice, you made a choice, right? Everyone's
So-
following.
Is there significance that sorry, my camera's off. Is there
That's all right.
significance the fact that like there are, I mean, that's very specific, right? That there are 2 marks, one on your forehead, one on your hand. Like to get the point across, it seems like you could just say, you know, the people will be marked even in one place. So is there significance behind, like, is there something deeper to this specifically saying on the right hand, on the forehead? Does that represent something that's
I want to
Yeah,
add
well-
to that because I want to add to that because I think that we talk about symbolism and this whole book has been about symbolism, and all of a sudden we're supposed to take this mark literal. And we just talked about speech and authority comes from words, and I think that maybe the mark has to do with something you pledge allegiance to. I mean,
Yeah.
like
That's exactly right. That was my
yeah,
point.
like, yeah, like, but verbally, it's not literally a mark on your hand or in your forehead, but it's something you say. It's a mark on your. It could be a mark on your heart or whatever. Whatever.
right? And that, like, yeah, like I think Jace, you were right. You were saying that like it could be whatever. So like, but you could say that without having to say you'll be
Right.
marked on your right hand and your forehead. Like,
So
is there
why the-
something
why the
symbolic
specific-
specifically there? Yeah.
Randall, do you want to take this with your Jewish background stuff?
Yeah, I was gonna add, actually, this popped into my head as we were reading it. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I keep thinking about the right ear, the right finger, the right thumb and the right big toe being dipped in blood for the priesthood. And there's the sense in which the gathering of believers has become the priesthood. So you've got on the one side those who are taking the mark of God, and on the other side you've got those who are taking the mark of the beast, and he identifies them in priestly language. I'm wondering, I don't know, that was the first thing that popped into my head was the priestly markings.
That's good. I was going a different direction. but I
How
think that's-
about when Cain,
Yeah, Cain got a mark. Yep. Is that what you said? I think that's what you said. Cain?
how about when Cain was banished and he was marked so that nobody would hurt him?
Right, and that's a great question because it seems to be a very literal sign there, right? Some way that he's been marked in order for people to see that he's safe. It's the same idea though. He's been protected by the mark. So we don't know what if there was something literal or not in Genesis, but remember that I don't find Genesis 1 through 11 to be a literal story anyway. It's supposed to be symbolic. So you can picture a tattoo or a barcode or anything if you want, but that's not the point. The point is that you've been protected or marked off. So I was just in Jerusalem a few weeks ago and went to the what we call the Wailing Wall, but it's the Western Wall, a piece of the temple, of the Second Temple. And you put your hands on this temple, and it was cold. It was really cold. And so I'm standing at the I'm doing my prayers, and I didn't put any notes in there. You're supposed to put your prayer requests in the wall. I didn't have any paper. I didn't do that. But I was just standing there praying at the temple, which I thought was just a cool thing because people have done that for centuries. It's not any more powerful or anything like that. God can hear you from wherever, but I just thought it was a cool solidarity thing. And then I left. I got my little yarmulke on, and I walked into a room off to the side, which is a study room. There's about 500 people in this room, which is not a huge room. So many people. I may be wrong, couple hundred people. All of them in black, all of them with these robes and these beards that are down to here, bigger than Randall's beard, right? They are rocking it way bigger than mine. And every one of them have these laces on their arms that lead to something on their wrist. And every one of them has something on their head tied here, little box. Do you know what those are called?
Tefillin.
Phylacteries.
Phylacteries is what we call them now. That's right, phylacteries. Yep. So this is where you hold the sayings, right? Or the content of this religion, of God, of Yahwism with you. This is what is sacred to me in these two places. This is a Jewish thing. This isn't a Christian thing, right? Christians, of course, have adopted it too. And you'll see, I mean, not a lot of them do, but some of them do. But it's an Old Testament thing. So I think that's what he's bouncing off of. I mean, it's on your hand and on your head.
Never
These are
heard
the
that
things
before.
What's sacred to you?
I've never
Like-
heard of. Could you spell what those are?
Phylacteries, oh boy, Phylacteries, I think.
Okay. I'll
I
give you
think
close
it's
enough.
PHY, but it might be PHI. Pretty sure there's a Y in there though.
Yeah,
Phylacteries.
that's excellent, Jason. I am way behind you on that one. That is actually a great read on that. I like that a lot.
I'm just assuming that must be what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Thinking
because-
Shema there
because of where
probably.
it's at. What was that?
The Shema.
The Shema is in there? Yes.
No,
I can't remember what they put in
It
there.
binds it on your forehead and bind it on your doorpost of your house, things like that.
Right. And on the doorpost, it's called the, what's the doorpost thing called?
Mental.
And I have them all over, but I can't remember what they're called.
But yes, you're supposed to take the Shema. That's what the text says, right? Bind it on your forehead.
Mezuzah.
Mezuzah. That's the word. Good job.
So this is interesting.
So-
I'm looking up images of it now, and every
Uh-huh.
image I see, it's on their left hand. So that might be an interesting commentary too, like that this is specifically says on your right hand.
Are you sure
Ugh.
the photo isn't reversed though?
Yeah, I was checking, but I see wedding rings on some of them, and there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all on the left.
Interesting. I wonder why that is. I mean, I don't know my modern Judaism, so I don't know why that would be. And so maybe this is not connected at all. I was just guessing.
No,
Your
but I
heart-
think
your
that
heart
I think
is
that
on
it
the
could be,
left.
right?
Your
It would
heart
be
is on
opposite,
the
right?
left. Close
heart?
to your heart.
Oh, yeah, maybe so. Maybe it's close to your.
I see a
Deuteronomy,
picture
Deuteronomy
here of-
6. You have tie them,
We're just
tie the
making
symbols
stuff
on
up.
your
It's
hands
fun.
and bind them on your foreheads.
I see
if it
one
is on
here
your
of-
left,
Matt,
If
can
it
you
is
tell
on
me
your
what that
left-
passage is again?
Okay, it's the Hear Israel, Lord God, Lord is one.
Shema. Okay, Deuteronomy
Yeah, it
6.
says tie them as your symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads as part of that one.
Right. And that's where they got it from. So it is on the hands and the foreheads, but what David is saying is that they're always on the left hand. It doesn't sound like Deuteronomy cares, but here in Revelation, it does seem like right is important. Maybe it's just
Well,
power,
It's
right
opposite.
hand is a strong hand.
I mean, maybe it's saying that it's opposite. I mean, like maybe if everyone was writing on their left hand, this is that, but backwards, right? Like it's the opposite of a good thing, right?
I'm
So-
seeing some picture
I'd have
with it
trouble with that
on
one.
there, right, for whatever that's worth.
Okay, so some are on the right, some are on the left.
Yeah, very few,
Okay.
very, very few, but I do see a couple here that have it on their right arm.
Hey, I'm a very simple man, but I would think that what came to my mind is being on the forehead, being on the right hand, which is the hand of power, it's very visible. So when they're doing dealings, they're passing things on with the right hand and they're face to face. So everything is very visual.
Yeah.
It can be seen.
That's good.
We were talking.
And left hand is also often a deceptive thing. It's where you hide things, like to stab Eglon in the stomach, right? With the
We're
left hand.
talking about these false prophets, and my Bible takes me to Galatians 6:17. It says, "From now on, let no one cause trouble for me, for I bear on my body the brand marks of Jesus." And so, what happens with Jesus? There's a mark on his hands and forehead. I don't know what those marks in Galatians, what he's talking about, what he means by bear the marks of Jesus, and why
I think it's the stigmata, right? The holes in the hands. But again, it's symbolic. We're not supposed to really get the stigmata, right? From all your demon exorcist movies. Okay. It's just saying you're bearing the name of Christ. And Revelation is about taking that all the way to the point of death. So you're willing to be sacrificed even on a cross. And the apostles were, right? Some of them were actually killed on crosses, which is just super cool. I mean, it's super horrible, but cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that one wasn't as cool as Deuteronomy 6, though. You guys are on something good there.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's no.
I'd forgotten where it came from when I gave the symbols. So Matt brought us all through there.
Sorry,
Thanks,
not
Matt.
to stick on it, but you said that you weren't sure if you would agree with it being like a twisting of the tradition.
Well, my question would be, is it modern day Judaism? Because did they do that in first century AD? I don't know, because I'm thinking that's more modern. I mean, I was going to ask that question.
Yeah,
I
But
thought
it's
it
from
was
the Old
always,
Testament.
so, yeah, I mean, Deuteronomy 6 tells you to, and they literalized it back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
But whether it's left-handed now is more modern, that I don't know. But I don't want to think that they are purposefully, and maybe I'm just totally wrong here, but that they're purposefully twisting it. Like they read Revelation, we're not going to do it on the right hand, we're going to do it on the left.
Oh, no, I meant the opposite. So like Revelation, like the symbology is that it's on the right hand because like
Hurting.
the phylacteries are always worn on the left. And so it's a twisting of like that symbolism.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So quick Googling here, I found something on certain phylacteries, something called a tefillin, apparently. It says,
Yeah.
worn in the left inferior hand in the wrap strips around 7 times to subdue the forces of impurity of our evil inclination, which resides in our left side of our body here. So the weaker hand being having the impurities of whatever else there. That's where it's marked with the wrapping and stuff or whatever else. I'm not sure exactly what this is, but tefillin, it's like a wrap around the left arm.
Yeah. So tefillin is, Randall brought that up right away and I just changed it to phylacteries, but that's the same. That's the same idea. The wrap that connects to the phylacteries, I think.
Well, and someone else mentioned
Google,
like
you
the
can,
hand
you
of
can show me how
power.
dumb I am. What was that, David? Sorry.
Yeah, someone mentioned the right hand being a power, and maybe that's how it's tied too. Like it sounds like the phylacteries are intentionally maybe put on the hand of less, not weakness, but of not of force. And then you have the symbolism in Revelations of like it's the empire is embracing force. So of course it'd be on the right hand is where the symbol is, because it's all about power. And
What I think the idea behind it was good, but I think what it's actually the false prophet motif that we're going on, it kind of leads down to it. I mean, this whole part of the book in Revelation chapter 13 verses 11 through 18 is talking about false prophets. And so the marks are probably most likely speaking of marks that are symbolic of it sounds like the mark, at least where my Bible's taking me, is the marks of a false prophet, like of someone who's claiming to be, something they're not. And maybe it'd be the religious folk, someone who's a modern day, if we wouldn't do application, it'd be a senior pastor at a prosperity gospel. I don't want to put down the prosperity gospel people, but but yeah, it's something like that. It's maybe not tied to Judaism as we're wanting it, but it is a good. I mean, it's John's a Jew, right? So he would be familiar with this, and
yeah. I think it sounds like, regardless of what the little specifics that we're trying to figure out here, which has been fun. This is like a joint Bible study where we're all doing all the work at the same time. It's kind of cool. The big picture, I think everyone can see, right? That you've taken the name on yourself, you've bound it on in a prominent place that everybody can see, and said, "This is where my identity is found." Right? And if your identity isn't found here, then you don't get to play, you don't get to buy, you don't get to sell. You're not in the game, so you're excluded from that. If you're excluded from that, that's a good thing in the book of Revelation. You should be excluded from that, and it might lead to death, right? But you're going to conquer. As we're going to find out in chapter 14, right? That they're going to come back, right? But we got to finish this, right? It's 9:01. We're 14 minutes. We don't even get to talk about the church. Maybe we'll come back and talk about the empire and all that stuff. So here's the last little bit. This calls for wisdom. Let him who has understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666, or 666. All right. Does anybody want to feed into that one? What the heck is this?
My study Bible says it has to do with Nero Caesar, that numbers in Hebrew are related to letters or the equivalent to the letters in the name or something like that.
Right. Does anyone know what that is called when you do that? When you make numbers equivalent to names? I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
Doesn't the
Letters
Kabbalah
equivalent
do
to
that?
numbers.
Doesn't the Kabbalah do that in Jewish mysticism?
Yes, it
Gematria?
does. But this has a specific name.
Is it gematria?
And it is gematria. Not that anybody can read what I'm saying. Let me try that again. Gematria. So in Greek, for instance, if you have alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon,
Zeta,
Theta,
eta, theta,
eta, theta. Yeah, do you remember iota, kappa,
iota, kappa, lambda, mu,
noon,
mu, xi,
uh,
xi,
Xi,
omicron,
Omicron,
p,
wait, what is it?
Pi.
Yeah, Omicron, pi, rho,
rho, sigma,
sigma, tau, upsilon.
epsilon.
I'm having trouble remembering. It's been a long time since I've done Greek. Upsilon, phi, psi,
Chi,
Omicron. Did I get them all?
omega.
Wait, no, I never did pi. So there we go. Maybe
This
that's
is why
right.
the alphabet song exists.
Yeah, that's right. This is why the alphabet doesn't matter. You don't have to. Now you're impressed that I almost did it, but I really didn't. Only with the help from Dad. Okay. So each one of these represents a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And then you get to 10. Then you get to 20, 30, 40, 50. You get the idea. 60, 70, 80, 90, and then 1,000, and I think 2,000. And I'm probably wrong as to what the actual numbers are, but you get the idea of how it's supposed to represent these different things. Goes all the way up to 100, and then all the way up to 800, 10, 20. Wait a minute, what did I do? 20, 30, 90. Yeah, that's right. 100, sorry, 100, 200, 300, etc. Like that.
Hey,
Okay.
Jace,
Yes?
isn't this why there's also the textual variant? Is that in one particular language, the gematria would have equaled 666, but in another language, it would have been 616, right?
Yep. So a textual variant is when you're looking at the Greek text and you see that there are lots of different manuscripts. And you can see that in one manuscript, it shows up as 666, but in another manuscript, it shows up as 616. So remember, we talked about this more than once. There's no such thing as an original text. And even if there is, we sure as heck don't have it. Okay, so we've got lots of different manuscripts, and this is a textual variant that's going to show up. Okay, but yes, in different languages, for instance, in Hebrew, Greek, Latin, whatever it is that you're doing it in, you're going to find different numbers that'll fit here. Okay, by the way, you can make almost any names fit if you want to, which makes gematria really hard. It's really easy to do it one direction. It's really hard to do it the other direction. If it says 666, I can come up with 1,000 names that'll add up to 666. Okay, now this is a normal practice that they have. It's like the Sibylline Chronicles, the oracles there. You can see like, I love a woman and her name is 585, right? Like that's a normal way of doing it. In the, what book is it? One of the books, which I'm sure is in here, which I probably wrote somewhere, in the Greek text, Jesus is 888. Okay, that should be pretty significant to you, right? So if you count these, and you have I, E, A, if you add that up, it's going to add up to being 888. That's interesting, isn't it?
That's
Jesus
Jesus.
is going to add up to 888.
That's fascinating.
And what
Because
we have here,
8 is one of those huge numbers in Judaism right now, especially when you associate it with Hanukkah, or they've got music groups named 8th Day, and it's the 8th day that Jesus came back to life kind of thing, is that his resurrection would have been on the 8th day, is what they would say. So that is a huge thought.
yeah. I wrote it here if anyone cares. Iota is 10, eta is 8, sigma is 200, omicron is 70, upsilon is 400, sigma is 200. It adds up to 888. So very cool, but also very cool because the number of completion or perfection is what?
7.
7. Jesus seems to go beyond that. So triple sevens. So taking the Trinity, the Godhead, right?
Yeah.
Now we have the dragon, the beast, and the beast, which is a false Trinity. And we got the 777, and we got Jesus at 888. So it might just be a symbol of less than perfection, even though they're trying to convince you all that they're perfect Trinity. They're not. They're actually the symbol of man, 6, multiplied in a Trinity fashion, trying to deceive you. But it does seem to imply that it's the number of human, like a human has this name. So like I think Lori said earlier, like her study Bible says it's Nero Caesar. Okay, so Nero was one of the Caesars. Caesar is a title. As long as you spell Caesar in the particular way that wasn't exactly the right spelling at that time, it works. Okay, you can make things work. You can probably figure out that if you take my name, Jace, and then you include just the part of my middle name, Richard, that it works, right? Or something like that. You can make things like, oh, see? And half of that is his name. It makes him half as important. You can do that with almost anything, but most scholars thought it was a side glance, a little hit on Caesar Nero. Okay. And I think it probably is. I think that's what they're playing with. But I don't think it really is Caesar Nero, right? Because this whole thing is not a bad, it's like just like it's not a real mark, just like it's not something you really put on your wrists or on your hands or on your forehead. The point is not that it's Nero. The point is that it is Babylon, it is Rome, it is empire. It is those that have made themselves out to be like God, like Nebuchadnezzar, who are being humbled like Nebuchadnezzar. Remember? This is what's going to happen eventually. That's why that passage is so beautiful. Nebuchadnezzar makes himself out to be like God and then ends up becoming, that is, he tries to make himself like a 777 or 888, and he ends up becoming a 666, like somebody who grows feathers and has claws and is out in the, like he becomes subhuman or like a beast, right? Because he's trying to make himself out like God, but he becomes like a beast. That beast theme is going to keep going throughout all of this. It's why we're supposed to have dominion over the beast. We're not supposed to let them have dominion. It doesn't really matter about your dog or your cat. That's not the point, right? But chaos and those evil things that we bring in as beautiful things. And the best things in the world might be not, because they take away our focus on the best things, right? Spouse, finances, children, ambition, jobs. I don't know what yours is, right? But are you tempted every day to worship the beast?
Yes.
What's the biggest temptation for you?
Sure, I got some cash in my bank.
Mine is pride. I want to be right. And someone,
Good
when
one.
when someone comes at me a certain way that I don't think is correct, this great application, Jace. I want to, it says something, it says, did we already cover this 616? I'm so obsessed with this, what we call, what was the, when you put it on, when Deuteronomy 6, when you put it on your hand and your forehead, what did we call that?
That's called the Shema.
Shema. Okay.
Hear,
Yeah.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one. The Lord your God, the Lord is one God. That's the Shema. It just means, Shema means hear. So it's Hear, O Israel, and then you're supposed to take that and you're supposed to put it on your head and in your hand, on your hands. And
Okay.
bind it on your house. Yeah. Like a
And so I missed that. You said 616. I can see it on the board back there. We already talked about that. It said 616.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. That has to do with the gematria.
Gematria. Okay.
And so some of the manuscripts will say 616 and some will say 666. Both can lead to Nero, actually. That's why people thought that it worked, that it was so obviously Nero, because depending on how you spell Caesar, you're going to get different answers there. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked. Or whether you add an N to Nero, so it's Neron, I think, which is how they would have said it. I can't remember the specifics. I didn't try to get too in. You guys ask all these like little detailed questions. I'm like, I'm trying to stay big, but I didn't do all the work.
I was reading an article a while back and they had said that 666 was like the Greek and that the manuscript copiers had translated it into Latin or something and put it as 616 because in Latin, that was what equaled Nero, and the transcript translators were trying to maintain that. Nero. I can send you the article, but that's what he was.
I don't need to. I believe you. I trust you. I didn't, because honestly, I didn't.
You
I
don't
didn't
want
look this up
extra reading? Come on, Jay, 7 year old.
Yeah. Spent about 6 hours working on this today, and I didn't still get anywhere close to enough information. So, yeah. But I do believe, like, I knew it was something like that. So as you have more confidence in yours than I have in mine, I'm in. The point is the same, that it ends up being the same answer.
Could just be the blind leading the blind too, so.
It can be.
Yeah, I know that 616 doesn't correlate with the Shema, but I was so obsessed with the Shema that I was focused on while you guys are going through that. I got squirrely there. But okay, so another reason why I think it's Nero or maybe not even Nero, but even going back to Caesar Augusta, right? Because they represent, after Caesar Augusta, they started deifying the emperor, right. So there, that's this whole kind of direction towards a false sense of they called Caesar Lord. You know, they know that's the whole thing in Mark chapter 1, where it's a shot, kind of like a shot at Caesar. It's like Jesus is Lord.
Yeah, I would say it's a shot at Caesar, and Nero is the representative probably of that time for Caesar, but it's really just, the point is the emperor, the person who is in charge of the empire, who is being worshipped as God. Just like you said, Octavius or Augustus, same person, had said that Julius Caesar, his grand uncle, I think, Julius Caesar, his grand uncle, was divine, and then took it on himself, right? Augustus Caesar, the most august. And then called himself even the priest of Rome, takes on the. So that's why the beasts are not necessarily two beasts; they're actually one. There's no such thing as separating religion and politics in their time. They're together. They took it apart pedagogically for us, right? And it works really well for us because we have such a separation between them, we pretend we do, right? But the reality is that they're one and the same. We worship our political, I mean, good grief. We're out of time, but have you not seen this during the last 6-7 years, right? Has this not been so obvious that we worship control and power? And if you disagree with me on who should be the president, then you are probably not a Christian, right? You're going straight to hell, and I don't like you, that's for sure, and we're not going to be, right? Like it divides. I mean, it's been so obvious lately. On both sides, I think. It's not just one side.
Yeah.
We have separated ourselves to such a degree that we've lost track of who the Lord is. And that's what Revelation reminds us of. And we'll pick that back up because I got 5 application points, probably, which we've already said, but I want to let you speak into that more next week. So we'll probably start with that and then do a little bit in chapter 14, get started on it. So come back next week to tell us all about what you worship that's the wrong thing. Come confession, and I will absolve you. Go in peace. All right. Thank you, guys and gals.
Thank you.
Guys, in a universal, larger sense of people, mankind. Thanks for coming.
Love y'all.
Thanks,
Y'all have a
Dave.
blessed day.